I'm Charles Cramer, here in Carmel, California, on a rainy November afternoon. Photographers Ansel Adams, Brett Weston, and others founded the Friends of Photography in 1967, and this gallery is where they had their exhibitions. This historic gallery is now run by the Center for Photographic Art. And over the years, I've been in this gallery countless times to see some wonderful exhibitions, and it's quite a shock to now see my work on these walls. So I'd like to show you around and talk about some of the images in the show. One of my favorite subjects has always been trees, either solitary trees, as you see in these snags in Waimea Canyon in Hawaii, or this bonsai-like pine in Kolob Canyon. But mainly, I've loved working with trees in groups, searching out just the right camera locations such that the arrangement of trees seems to work. This image was made in Great Smoky Mountain National Park at dawn one foggy May morning. In Point Lobos, just actually a few miles from this gallery, is this cypress grove of weathered trees. And here's a fascinating group of aspen in the eastern Sierra. I am endlessly fascinated by the Southwest, with its incredible rock shapes and colors. The trees in this canyon are just starting to leaf out early one April. Canyon walls by themselves are also wonderful. This one is huge, but with nothing to indicate scale, you can't really tell. This print is also one of the 4 dye transfer prints in the show. I worked really hard printing my own dye transfers for 15 years, until Kodak stopped making the materials in the mid-90s. This is the justly famous Antelope Canyon. The sandstone here is really all one color, the color you see on the left, but the light bounces around, illuminating certain walls by bounce light, causing these incredible glowing colors. I also like this image because of its Escher-like confusion. Notice this lighter section of the wall here, which is obviously in front, but then look lower and this darker area also looks like it's in front, which is obviously impossible. Water has also been a big interest of mine. This is an image from 1987. I bracketed the exposure slightly, so I have only 2 4x5 transparencies of the scene. And due to a large dose of luck, one of them caught the water just about right, at about, I think, a 15th of a second. Down here, I'm closer to the water, so it's moving relatively faster and looks blurry. But up here, farther away, this same exposure caught the water in mid-leap. This was also made in shade, like the vast majority of my work. And shade can be very bluish. And I usually color correct that blue out. But in this case, I felt a little blue added to the dreamy, otherworldly quality of the scene. In this part of the gallery, I've devoted this whole section to water images. I'm calling it Water World. Choosing different shutter speeds can make a big difference in water images. Here I am on the Merced River this past spring. The water is rushing madly downstream, and a 1/3 of a second exposure caught the water with most of its detail. With a really big neutral density filter, I can slow the exposure down to 6 seconds, creating a very different look. The one I used in the show was this one exposed at 1.6 seconds, giving a nice balance between detail and smoothness. Here's a receding wave in Hawaii, exposed around 1/2 second. From the same camera position, each different wave created an entirely different composition. Since I now use a Phase 1 digital back, I can make all the exposures I want and not worry about the cost of 4x5 film and E6 processing. In this case, over many mornings and evenings, I made around 1,800 exposures. So you'd think I'd get at least one good one out of all of those. I've also been fascinated by colored reflections in water, as in this scene of the Merced River. And here's another one of the Merced. Now, you're probably thinking that I photoshopped this or manipulated it to get these colors, but these colors actually occur. To prove it, here's a picture of my friend Keith Wachlet in Coyote Gulch, showing the proper conditions to get these colored reflections. The water is in shade that I'm going to photograph, but nearby there is something colorful in the sun, like these trees at the top, which results in very colorful reflections. We also have some red rock in sun, resulting in very colorful red reflections. So back to this scene of the Merced, you now realize that there was some bright green foliage in the sun that caused these rich greens. The blue came from the very blue Sierra sky. Here's a few more of these reflection images. This is also the Merced River in Yosemite. And this is a creek in Utah near the Escalante River, reflecting the blue sky and red rocks. This was a fairly fast exposure to capture each little ripple with its respective color. Now, here's a water image that's not really a landscape because I took this out my kitchen window. The window screen captured the raindrops, and they each became like little prisms. If I zoom in, you can see each drop reflects the grid of the screen. The green is from my neighbor's bushes. Finally, to end, I'd like to share a few more images from the show, accompanied by a slow Scarlatti sonata that I've played on the piano. So, thanks for virtually visiting my exhibition.